Welcome to another episode of One-on-One with Mitch Lafon. I'm your host, Mitch Lafon. Joining me as a guest this week is Carmine Appice. He's got a new band called Rated X with Joe Lynn Turner. And co-hosting this week is ALLAN SCHWARTZBERG, who, of course, has played on albums by Jimi Hendrix, Kiss, Peter Gabriel. Who else, Alan, have you played with?
Mountain, let's see, James Brown, Barbra Streisand, what else?
Well, you know, like Carmine Appice.
Loads of R&B, Gloria Gaynor, Never Can Say Goodbye.
Right.
Considered the first disco record, sorry about that term, but... just been a long session. Did a lot of session work. Brian Ferry Records, Roxy Music Records.
You know, and I don't mean to cut you off, but like Carmine, you've also played with Rod Stewart.
Yes, my playing with Rod was on the last 3 out of the 4 Standards albums. Mm-hmm. Which were actually done, I was part of the production team. It was done at my studio in New York. Tracks were done at my studio, and I played and contracted it and all that stuff. That's my connection with Rod. Hung out with them a bit, and really had a great time with him. Such a nice guy. And but never went on the road. Would love to. I think there's a drummer that's been with him quite a while, which he's who he's being loyal to. So whatever, you know. So, but I was glad to have the time that I did have with him. So it was fun.
And recently on the show we had Steve Hunter, who of course played with Alice Cooper and was on a Peter Gabriel album, and of course David Lee Roth. You were on that Peter Gabriel 1977 album with him. What are some of your memories of having played on that album? Because it was sort of the one that was...
It was Peter's first solo album, and it was also the tour that followed, and it was Peter's first solo tour after leaving Genesis. So we cut tracks up at Nimbus 9 in Canada with Bob Ezrin producing. Lot of fun, so much fun. Very creative atmosphere. Then going on the road, Steve played guitar along with Robert Fripp, believe it or not, who decided that he was never going to be seen, but only heard. So he would get all dressed up before every gig, every concert, but never go on stage. He would just stand in the wings and play, and that was, I guess, his way of being noticed, of making sure he gets noticed by him not appearing on stage. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's inverse way of being noticed. Steve and I had a great time. There were some laughs that, things you could talk about and can't talk about, and but generally musically it was always exciting. Every night, because the music was, spectacular, and fun. Oh. If you remember, there's even a one part of the show. There was a barbershop quartet that would happen in the middle of the show. It was just, it was, and Peter wasn't in any kind of costumes or outfits or anything. But he kind of starts off nice and easy and. Got a little wild, but basically, he did the whole show in a t-shirt and a motorcycle jacket and jeans and sneakers, and that was it.
That was it.
Yeah, it was great. We had a wonderful time. Bob Ezrin is a spectacular producer who knows how to do it. Has this very telescopic overview
of everything,
and knows how to get the sounds, and it was wonderful. I don't like the final mix, though. Mix was a big disappointment. Jimmy Malin, the percussionist on the record, and the late Jimmy Malin, I should say, was one of my dearest best friends, and we ran out and bought that record, and we both looked at each other after listening to it and said, "What happened? What happened to the sound? It only sounds nice when you hear it with phones. I don't think there's a sound system that can make that record sound the way it should have."
Right. Yeah.
I wish they would redo it.
Now, Carmine also during the interview talks about working with Paul Stanley on the 1978 solo album. You were also involved in all those solo albums. You ended up on 2 of them. You played on Gene Simmons' solo album. By the way, did you any of you get to meet? Did you meet Carmine? Was this all in the same studio, or were you sort of all over the place?
Oh no! What you mean when I did the solo album? The solo albums were
right. Gene got flown to London.
Gene was in London, right? In fact, it was SST flights back and forth, which were fun. And it was done at the Manor, all spread out through this castle, and all the rooms mic'd, and everybody had their own kind of room. It wasn't a booth. Everybody had a room. The bass was in the snooker room, and drums were in the pantry, and it was cabled all through the house. It was a great experience. Cher was there the whole time, with Chastity running around and Elijah Blue running around, and then I did, as you know, I did the solo album for
Peter Criss.
Peter Criss, right?
Yeah, and that must have been strange though, because you're a drummer replacing the drummer on his solo album. I mean, was that uncomfortable, or was that? Well,
you know what, Peter was very cool about it. There's a good time of the record. He was sitting next to me and at the Electric Lady Studios, and he was okay about it. He was going to sing on it. That's something I never could have done, So everybody does different things. I had to play on records. Maybe Peter's a little rough about playing on records. At that time, he was anyway. Maybe I don't mean to have any negative dispersion,
Right. Well, let's say he was focused on doing lead vocals.
Yeah, it's his album, so he was doing vocals, and so he seemed to be okay. And Sean Delaney did a good job on that. He was quite a character, the late Sean Delaney, and very, very colorful producer also. And it was a very good time. I just remember that Peter I didn't feel any kind of discomfort or any kind of edge coming from Peter at all about, well, how come I'm not playing on it, stuff like that. He was okay with everything.
He really was. So let's get into the Carmine interview. He has a new band called Rated X, and the album comes out on Frontiers Records, and we've got another Kiss guy in there, Karl Cochran, who wrote some songs with Ace on the Psycho Circus album, who toured with Ace. We've got Tony Franklin, and of course Joe Lynn Turner. So let's listen to Carmine. We are talking with Carmine from Rated X. Good day, sir.
Wow, this is the first interview I've done with. It's a Carmine from Rated X.
Well, yeah, you got to, right? That's the new project.
I know. It's all wild. Like I said, we've been working on this project for a year.
Yeah.
Because the way it was recorded was the fact that none of us live in the same area except for me and Joe. And we've gone through guitar players. We've done so many different problems.
Yeah.
Technical problems, the producers in Italy, it's just crazy.
Well,
but we got it done, We actually got it done.
How far back does the project go? You had Bruce Kulick for a while, but he's got this touring schedule with Grand Funk, so he couldn't commit more than that. Jeff Watson came in. The band was called Legacy X. Then it turned over to Rated X.
Well, no, originally the band was called Project X.
Oh, of course, yeah.
That's the original name. And then after Project X, we found out there was another band called Project X, and we were calling it Legacy X. And then found out there was a guy in a group called Recycle Percussion had some sort of project with the name Legacy X that was trademarked. So, we didn't find that when we were looking around for the trademarks, and so that's we said, oh well, we can't have that. So, and then we just started looking around and for different names, and shift all these names around, and it was just so it went through so many different name changes, and then guitar players, and then after Watson, we finally got an amazing guitar player.
Yeah.
Karl Cochran. I mean, he was like amazing.
Yeah.
He did what had to be done. We got him like about 3 days before we did the video, and we said, "Dude, we have to have this done on the audio. We have to put the guitars on and everything in the next 36 hours in order to feed it to the video guy, the director, so we can do the video." And he did it. It was for 2 songs. Did all the guitars. It was just unbelievable.
Well, let me start I was going to sorry to interrupt. I just want to start with Karl. He's done work with Ace Frehley. He's done all kinds of other work with other bands. Last year, or certainly in the last little while, he had a medical situation. How is he doing these days? I mean, was this recorded before that medical situation, or did he finish the stuff after?
Well, he did. I believe he did 6 complete songs.
Okay.
Or 7 complete songs, and then he had a stroke.
Right.
Basically.
Right.
And the crazy thing is, we saw him the night before. He played with Flavor Flav at the Iridium in New York, and he was awesome. Yeah. And then 12 hours later, he was in the hospital.
And so, how is he doing now? Do you have an update on his condition?
Well, we're doing a benefit for him next week.
Oh, good.
At the Iridium, and I haven't seen him since the last time I saw him was August 8th, and he was walking and talking somewhat, and considering they didn't expect him to live.
Yeah.
The stroke was so bad, but he was doing really good. And, I'm going to see him next week, and hopefully, I'm hoping they're saying he's going to rehab and he's getting better. So
yeah, I'm hoping for it too, because I've been in studio with Karl on 2 songs. They did a Ace Frehley tribute back in '96 or '97 out at Juan Cruce's house.
So
I know him,
player.
And awesome.
Player.
But forget the player. He's just an awesome guy. He's one of the nicest
guy.
people.
I mean, the whole month that he spent after we did the video, it was a month or 6 weeks. He was working on, the record. We would call each other like 3 or 4, 5 times a day and go over parts and send me stuff and go, "What do you think of this? What do you think of that?" And we talk. And then when he had the stroke, I actually missed talking to him so much. I said, "Oh my God," I felt like something was missing.
Yeah, no, it really was. And
what a nice guy. I mean, a nice man, tremendous talent. And I hope he can get back to where he was.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So let's talk about this project. First of all, it's great that the project is coming out. It's great that it's coming out with Karl's guitar playing on it. What is sort of the thought?
And he's in the videos. He's in both the videos.
Yep, that's right. What's the thought or what's the long-term goal with this? Is this sort of a one-off and off you go back to your normal bands, or is this, we want to make this a band, we want to have a second album, a third album?
We wanted to make this a band, and it's like, ever since we said that, everything's been fighting us,
Yeah.
It's, but we pulled through it all. It's unbelievable. Now, we wanted it to be a band that we can say, call it like the mothership, you know?
How
the mothership being the a band that we can go, okay, this summer we're going to do 15 gigs in the summer. 10 of them are festivals, and then the other ones are, whatever. That's the kind of thing we wanted,
Let me ask you about how difficult it is to put a band together. And, when you put Blue Murder together with Tony, MTV was there, radio was there, the labels gave you tour support, the labels gave you all kinds of advantages. Now in 2014, how much of this is you got to get out there and shake it yourself compared to actually having a machine behind you? Is it difficult to get a band started?
Well, I don't know because I haven't really done this in ages myself. So This is going to be an experiment for today because, I looked at the European and the U.S. marketing plan. I thought the European one was strong,
right?
But I thought the U.S. one was lacking,
right?
But they're all planning to do a lot of stuff on the internet. I really don't think the internet works for breaking bands like this,
Yeah,
I don't really know what works over here because I know my brother went out with a band, Kill Devil Hill.
Right.
He went out and they worked for 2 years and they made crap money. Every gig they ever did.
Yeah,
but we're not going to do that. We ain't going to do that. We're not going to go out and play for $1,500. Because first of all, Tony Franklin won't do that. He plays with Kenny Wade Shepherd and makes some decent money.
Yeah.
And he wants this to happen, but he can't go out and go out for a whole summer and make nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that. Neither did Joe.
Yeah. No.
So we're gonna do gigs where it matters. Like we're probably gonna start in Europe.
Okay.
Maybe we're talking to an American agent today. Maybe we'll do some stuff in America, before we go to Europe. Maybe like after the first of the year. It's only that makes sense. Maybe do one gig in New York City or something, so you can get a bunch of press and radio people down there.
Yeah,
because the good thing about the business today is, it used to be in the old MTV days, after 6 weeks, if the album wasn't happening, you're done. But now, you can go 6-7 months on an album before anything happens.
Got to be patient.
It's laying around because it's not like you're going to get, rotations everywhere and all kinds of radio and everything. And it's just a whole different ballgame now. So this is an experiment. I don't really know. I know that the names together mean something financially in, different parts of the world, like Europe, South America, Japan. And America, I'm not sure,
How is Rated X different to King Cobra? And is King Cobra something you're still going to do? I mean, you had an album in 2013, King Cobra 2. Are you going to do both projects, or is this sort of the future for you?
King Cobra is only an album project.
Okay.
King Cobra, we just did two albums, and for the same reason, financially, it didn't pay to go out on the road.
Okay.
I don't plan to go out on the road and lose money. There's no record company that tour supports this, And I don't really need to go play with King Cobra to lose money. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's not like, why? So we decided to do that as an album thing, and if we get another album deal, we'll do another album. But Rated X, we did the album. We wanted to go out and tour. It started off as just an album deal.
Right.
Serafino had the idea to put together a bunch of seasoned players for a group that Frontiers would own, basically.
Yeah, and of course.
But then the idea turned into a good idea. And when we got the people we got, we said, maybe we should try and keep this thing going as a band, because stuff we're coming up with and the way it sounds really good,
It really does,
and,
actually.
I know Joe was in a band with my brother called Big Noise. They would go out to Europe and South America and Japan, and they would make good money. Yeah, they would make big money. And so we said, well, if you could do that with Big Noise, you can certainly do the same kind of thing with this. So you don't have to do lots and lots of gigs. You can do some choice gigs, and hopefully, bigger gigs, festivals, and all that. We're certainly not going to go out and play clubs.
Right.
That's for sure.
That's for sure. Talk to me a little bit about Joe Lynn Turner. I mean, he's done stuff with Mother's Army, Yngwie Malmsteen, Rainbow. He appeared in a Deep Purple album. What kind of vocalist is Joe, and why Joe for this project? Because you've been around some of the greatest vocalists ever, from Rod Stewart. You played on a Paul Stanley album. You played with Ted. What's special about Joe?
Well, first of all, this album started with Joe and me.
Okay.
Because Serafina talked to Joe first and said, I want to put a band together, with you as the singer, and put a bunch of an all-star band around your vocals, and make it like a really cool project, So that's where it started. I always liked Joe's voice because he had soul in his voice. He was, always on key. Just he could sing low, he could sing high, really soulful. He had one of those kind of voices that was a real rich rock voice, and I always liked his voice. And like Stone Cold with Rainbow, I thought he was awesome on that.
Right.
And Yngwie Malmsteen, even some of his solo stuff. I remember seeing the solo stuff on MTV. And so that's how it started. So really, it came down from that, and then originally this band was going to be me, Joe, Pat Travers, and Rudy Sarzo. That was the original idea.
Yeah.
And then Pat and Rudy got real busy at the time when we were going to do this and bowed out. And then I got Tony Franklin in.
Right.
And then after Tony, then we got Bruce. And we were running with that for a minute. And then, then it took its, everything else took its course, and we went the way we went. But it's always been me, Joe, and Tony.
Yeah.
So it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. The way it came together, because we had so many technical problems. You can't even imagine. How many technical problems we had.
Well,
we don't know why. We don't know why. But the things were done. The drums were done in New Jersey. Vocals were done in New Jersey. Bass was done at Tony's in California. The guitars were done at Carl's in
Syracuse,
in New Jersey. And then also the guys that replaced Carl, Nikolai, his were done in Sweden. And there was another guy, Daniel, that wrote one of these great songs, really great song on the album, called You Are the Music. He played guitars on that one because he wrote it with Joe, And when I heard that song, I said, Joe, why aren't we doing that song? What a great song. I love that song. So we did it, And so it was done all over the place. And then the central spot for delivery of everything was in Milan, Italy. So that's where Frontiers hired this kid, Alessandro, to produce it, So, it was really produced by all of us, but he was the main engineer and the main...
He took all the pieces,
guy in the middle. Right. Yeah, but something happened when he got that. Either it was a glitch on the emails or a glitch in his system versus our system, So when we got stuff back, things changed. It was weird. Timings changed, and 0 points changed, all kinds of technical, crazy stuff that we couldn't fix. Even up to the mixing.
Right.
Even up to the mixing, we had problems. We had to, this guy Tom Merlin, who's engineered my drums and Joe's vocals, he was like the second engineer on this thing that really saved the day in more ways than one, because he was delivering the product to Pat Regan, who mixed it, in a way that Pat could actually put it into his template. It was just a technical crazy. And I did the King Cobra record this way, and we never had this kind of problem. you know. So
the joys of modern
it's one
technology.
of them things. It's all we always say. This thing is cursed.
Yeah. Let me ask you. The last time I interviewed you, it was in Montreal, down at the hotel with your brother for the Drum Wars event.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, we did that conference room thing, right?
Yeah, we were upstairs in the conference room.
That's right.
At the Delta Hotel, which, unless I'm mistaken, has now closed, unfortunately.
Oh, really? No kidding. Wow, that's a nice hotel.
Yeah, but if you remember at the time, the staff had been on strike and eventually sort of just led to the demise. But are you still doing the Drum Wars thing? Or are there any dates coming up?
Yeah. Matter of fact, we're this weekend we're mixing Drum Wars live at the Iridium.
Okay.
CD. That's going to be coming out at the end of November. It's going to coincide with this tour we're doing called the Metal All-Stars Tour in Europe and South America. So it's coming out on my label, Rocker Records.
Okay.
Distributed by E1 digitally, and physically it's Cleopatra Records.
Okay. You just mentioned the project that you're touring. I got to admit, I completely missed the announcement of that project. So just for my own benefit, what is this tour? The metal? What did you?
You mean the Drum Wars?
No, the Drum Wars I know, but you just said you're doing the metal something?
Oh, Metal All-Stars Tour, yeah.
Okay, so I missed that.
Yeah, well, we got it's all big names. You got Zach Wilde, you got Jess G from Ozzy's band, you got Ross the Boss from Man of War, you got Chuck Billy from Testament, Jeff Tate from Queensryche, Joey Belladonna from Anthrax, James from Dream Theater, a dude from Kronos from Venom. So it's a real heavy metal deal, you know.
Actually, you know what? I have heard of Zach's involvement in that, but so that's going out on tour, and I guess all the guys play, and you swap in and out, and it's just
Okay.
And
they gave me the great pleasure of being the musical director for this thing. The glorious, as Gabe, the guy that put it together, said, Carmine's got the glorious job of being the musical director. I said, thank you. I didn't really want to do it, but they sort of talked me into it. You know?
Is that project something that might lead to an album at some point, or is this sort of just having some fun on the road?
They're talking about trying to do some recording on this tour. And if they did, they wanted me to also be like the head producer kind of thing to put it all together. You know?
That's kind of cool.
So it makes sense for me. Oh, it makes sense to me to be the musical director and if it ended up being an album, being the producer, you know, because I love that. I love doing all production stuff anyway.
That's kind of cool. Yeah. Now, one of the first times we ever spoke was somewhere around 2006. Cactus 5 or Cactus V, whichever way you want to call it, had just come out. Cactus 5. Carol Kay had set up the interview. There's been nothing since. In fact, there's been a compilation since, but there's been no new album since. Is that something that you'd like to revisit at some point?
Well, there's other live stuff. Are you talking about the live stuff?
No. There was Ultrasonic Boogie that came out, Live 71 that came out in 2010, and Fully Unleashed that came out.
No. Well, on my label, we have 3 new Cactus things that came out.
Okay.
One of them is Cactus Live in the USA, which was the reunion we did at BB King's in 2006 with Tim, me and Jim McCarty and the singer and Randy Pratt. And then there's a audio CD come out of Cactus Live in Japan, 2012.
Okay.
That's on Rocker Records. That just come out. And then about a week ago, we released a DVD of the same tour in Japan, live in Japan with an audio double disc and a video, a DVD. So it's 3 discs, like a 3-disc package. Really nice package. So these are all on Rocker Records by Cleopatra physically coming out.
Okay.
So those are just coming out. They're just getting out there, and we've been doing press and reviews for those. And then we're working on an 8-song. We've got an 8-song album that'll be out in the first quarter with a brand new material.
Oh, so that's what I was
All
looking
new
for.
stuff.
That's what I'm looking for. So that's going to be exciting because Cactus, what a great band.
Oh yeah, and this new stuff sounds really, really fresh and really kick-ass and fresh and really good.
Yeah, that I'm looking forward to. Before I let you go, if I can just ask you a few questions about your past. You've worked you've worked on great albums, great bands. Let me start with Rod Stewart. Quickly, what was it like working with Rod?
Well, I mean, what can you say? When I worked with Rod, it was I think he was at the height of his career.
Oh, I agree, and I think that was the best band. I think everything was perfect.
Yeah, that band, and I have a show called The Rod Experience. I'm going to China.
Yep.
In 3 weeks with some members of the Rod, different incarnations of the Rod band. We got Jimmy Crespo on guitar, Danny Johnson on guitar, myself, and then we got Kenny Aronson playing bass, and we got Alan St. John playing keyboard.
Did
I
you
got
say,
a guy that looks and sounds like Rod.
Did you say Davy Johnson?
Danny Johnson.
Okay. It's not the guy who's with Elton John and...
no, Danny's been with Steppenwolf for 18 years.
Okay, and of course Jimmy Crespo...
And he played and he played with Rod from 80 to 82. Jimmy Crespo played with Rod from 94 to 97.
And Aerosmith.
And Aerosmith. And I played with Rod, as we know, for 7 years.
Right.
And then we got Kenny Aronson, who's all-star bass player, Yeah. And Alan St. John that played keyboard with Billy Squire for 30 years, as well as Foreigner and a bunch of other people. And the guy that we have looks and sounds like Rod. We did 5 shows in Dallas that went over great. And now we're doing the Venetian in Macau, China. We're doing 5 shows there. And I have a manager guy that's sort of taking it over, and he's working on gigs. We're going to do a run in the Midwest. He's just working on the timing and the run in Florida. And he's really going to start getting that show going because what we're doing is the Blondes Have More Fun tour.
Right.
All the songs we did in that tour pretty much we're doing. And it's a kick-ass show, unlike what Rod does now.
Well, Rod, I guess because of his voice, he's doing the softer stuff or the more songbook stuff. But,
yeah, exactly. I mean, he is doing the rock stuff, but when he does the rock stuff, it's such a clinical band, so it's too perfect. You got all the horn section, and you got chick singers, and you got your core band, and you got a violin player, and it's like a whole review now. It's not like Rod,
it's become vaudeville. Yeah, it's a little bit vaudeville, but that said,
it's fine.
You still have to respect him.
But I respect. I think
do.
He's awesome.
Yeah,
I think he's awesome. I think, but for me, we played those songs, we wrote those songs, we promoted those songs with him, and then we never got to play them anymore. So this is my way of getting back to playing the songs that we used to, that we put together.
Yeah, good
Which
stuff.
Is fun.
Absolutely, and at the same time,
playing with Rod at the time was, come on, we had our own plane, he had his own jet. We never traveled in the bus. We sold out 5-6 nights at 20,000 seat venues, and every major city we played in, we played for a minimum 50 to 60,000 people. Big records, and we know they're going to sell at least 5-6 million copies. So, and I wrote "Feeling I'm Sexy" with him, and it's awesome. It's really awesome.
Yeah, that was an incredible. Well, just that, and what Kiss was doing, and Aerosmith, and that whole scene from '76 to about '82 was just incredible for music. I mean, it was just everything was blowing up. Yeah. Absolutely everything blowing up.
Yeah.
Speaking of that,
I agree.
Speaking of that time, I'm a Kiss fan, and you got to play on Paul Stanley's solo record. Only did one track.
I did more than one, but that's the only one they used.
Okay. What? Hold on. Let's start with that. Were there other songs that he recorded with you that got thrown out?
Yeah, there were, but don't ask me what they are.
No, I won't ask you the names, but are you talking one,
I don't have
two,
a
three?
clue because I just came in from Bangkok from playing with Rod, and I was really fried, and I went right to the studio from off the plane, and I played 4 or 5 songs, but I don't have a clue what I actually played, what songs I played on.
Wow.
And then when the album came out, it was that song, and everybody tells me that was the best song on the album.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then when I heard it, I thought it was great. I thought it was really awesome. And me and Paul were really good friends back then. He turned me on to Bill Coyne. Bill Coyne was my manager for a while. And, me and him hung out. We said, like when Rod would throw a party, we went to the party together. We went out to see shows together. We even hung out at Midas Muffler, together. When I had to get one of my cars fixed.
That's funny.
So we were good friends. And, I still like Paul. He's a really good dude. And, he did me favors when him and Gene both did me a favor when I had King Cobra. They put King Cobra on the Kiss tour, and they actually paid us.
Wow.
Instead of we paying them, they did me a favor. And the manager I had also worked for a Coyne, and he knew them very well. And I've always had a good time with them,
Is that how you got connected?
Paul. I always liked Paul.
Is that how you got connected with Bruce Kulick for Rated X, having worked with Bob and the Kiss stuff?
No. I've known Bruce since 1976, 75. As a matter of fact,
when he was out with Meatloaf.
No, before Meatloaf. He wasn't with anybody yet.
Wow. Okay.
Him and his brother both played with me at a clinic I did at the Calderon Theater in Long Island, New York, which had Buddy Rich, me, and Joe Morello.
Oh, Buddy Rich.
So I played with 2 of my idols, and I used Bruce and Bob at that clinic, and that's when I met those guys. Matter of fact, he was playing with a group called Blackjack, I believe.
Right, Blackjack. That's right.
Which had Michael Bolton in it.
Or at the time, Michael Balaton, which was his name before he switched it. Another album that you worked on was the Pink Floyd album, A Momentary Lapse of Reason. What did you do on that? Did you do all the drums, some of the drums?
I did Dogs of War on that track.
Okay.
On that album. I had 1 track. And they called me, and Bob Ezrin called me and said, there's a band I'm producing that's screaming for Carmine drum fills. And I was on my message machine. When I got back to him, I said, what's the band? And he said, Pink Floyd. My immediate reaction was, where's Nick? Nice. And he said, well, Nick will be there, but they want some new blood, and they want some new energy, and they want your kind of drum fills. I said, okay.
And there you go. Quickly, how is it working with Bob Ezrin? I mean, he's for a guy of my age, my generation. I'm in my later 40s. He's sort of the producer that created a lot of the music I love, from Alice Cooper to Kiss and all that wonderful stuff. How is he for you to work with him as a producer?
He was good. He's a nice guy. I know Bob for a long time.
Right.
A nice guy. He knows what he's doing. Very good keyboard player.
Yeah.
He's also a very good keyboard player. And, I think he's one of the best around.
Absolutely. And I'll finish with this. The band Blue Murder that you got to play with.
Right.
Looking back, what is it now, 20 years later, 25 years later, something like
25
that?
25 years. 25 years right now.
25 years. When you listen back, there's just a lot of love for that band and those albums. Is that something that at some point you might want to try to revive or get back on the road, or is it? Or
I tried for 12 years. There's no way to get Sykes out of his house.
No, huh?
Nope. I tried for 12 years. Matter of fact, when Sykes was supposed to be in the winery doors. Mike Portnoy asked me, how do you get Sykes out of the house? I said, dude, I don't know. I've been trying for 12 years. I gave up now.
That's too bad.
So I gave up. It is too bad because there is a definite following.
Yeah.
For that band around the world. And that's why I think, Rated X has a lot of the elements that we had with Blue Murder, as far as, first of all, I got me and Tony. Anything me and Tony do with a heavy guitar sound is going to reminisce of that kind of style.
Yeah. And why do you think Blue Murder didn't get bigger at the time? It's become an incredible cult favorite. People just love that band, but yet at the time you didn't get the arena tour, you didn't get the stadium tour, you didn't get all the MTV airplay. Why do you?
Well, because I personally think we didn't have a direct manager.
Okay, they didn't have the right team in place.
That's what I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fair enough. So let's finish on Rated X. Album comes out in November. Hopefully
November 11th.
November 11th,
Uh-huh.
which is Remembrance Day in Canada. For those who don't know.
Oh, okay.
That's it. It's sort of a big holiday, not a holiday. It's a big moment where World War I, the armistice, the end of the war was signed at that time, and so we remember all our war veterans on November 11th.
No, it's just like Memorial Day for us.
Yeah, and it's a very sort of important day. We all, you wear poppies as a symbol, and so that's a meaningful date for Canadians, November 11th.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We'll think of that as for when Rated X comes out. Album's going to come out. You're not going to tour right away. You're waiting for those opportune moments to have showcases and shows that have some kind of meaning to it.
Yeah, so to make some sense.
Okay.
It doesn't really pay to come out and, like I said, there's no way to lose money today.
Yeah.
And all of us, we're all used to making good money when we perform, and I don't really, want to come out and just come out just to support an album, when, first of all, if we were going to come and do anything, it would have to be a couple of months after the record comes out, because nobody's going to know anything.
Yeah.
What we'll end up doing is playing our old songs anyway.
Yeah, you play all the you'll play the Blue Motor stuff, maybe a couple of Rod Stewart songs, and then there you go. Carmine, always a pleasure speaking with you.
Okay, man.
And thank you for doing this. And all
right, dude.
We'll do it again. Thank you.
Okay, man. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And that was our interview with Carmine Appice with his new band Rated X with Joe Lynn Turner and, of course, Karl Cochran and Tony Franklin. Alan, always a pleasure to have you. Let me just ask you a couple more things.
Sure, Mitch.
We talked about those two Kiss albums, the two solo albums. You, of course, ended up doing some stuff on The Elder. You did some stuff on Animalized. Much like Carmine, you were one of these drummers that were always in demand. If you look at the song credits on so many of the albums coming out of the 70s and 80s, you will find your name, and if not your name, Carmine's name. Why not ever join a band and hit the road for, why not be part of a foursome and that took on the world?
It's a great question, and I often wondered, I could have stayed on with Peter,
right, and
wrote out that whole tour, the whole solo Peter Gabriel thing,
right,
as Tony Levin, my good friend Tony Levin did,
right.
And I could have done it with Brian Ferry also. Brian asked me to go on the road with him, and I just enjoyed playing. I grew up playing playing for acts like Petula Clark and people like that. And believe it or not, after a while, I just like to have new music. I just like to play new music. And studio work was flourishing then. And I would do a Felix Pappalardi rock and roll Maggie Bell record at night. a jingle in the morning and a like a Streisand album in the afternoon.
And you also did touch-ups for the Mitch Mitchell stuff on the Jimi Hendrix albums.
There weren't touch-ups. I did the tracks over.
Okay.
I underdubbed, the drums. The drums are all mine. And
okay.
But that was projects like that. I liked. It was very difficult, very arduous kind of gig. It was like a musical version of a speedy arcade game.
Right.
Where you go around the corner, you're driving a race car and you crash into the wall. That was how it was playing drums to this stuff, because it was
Gotcha.
The two albums, Crash Landing and Midnight Lightning, are they're rough. They were really rough. These guys were absolutely loaded when these records went down. Sorry, but they were.
Yeah.
And it was a little hard to make it to glue your drum part onto these parts that aren't. Of course, they can't hear you anymore, so you have to be with them, and so you have to conform to where they decide to retard and decide to speed up and all that stuff. So it was really hard projects, but I do like doing all the different things, big band stuff, jazz, jazz, out and out jazz, bebop things. So I didn't go on the road, and I often wondered if that would have been fun, but I did what I did, and
I'll end on this question: are there, and I'm not suggesting anything, are there some drummers that are just better studio drummers and other drummers that are just better live drummers? I mean, I've heard rumors, and we were talking about Peter Criss, that in the studio he just doesn't have it, but on stage he was a monster. Are there some? I mean, is that such a thing that you're?
Yes, yes, okay. Yes, there is. Yeah, the people. Some drummers are much more comfortable playing live. Things like even like visual stuff that they do that helps them, like stick twirling and stuff like that. All the showmanship stuff, which I admire all that, because I can't do that stuff. Right. Double bass drum shit. Right. All that is, that doesn't work in the studio. None of that stuff really works in the studio. You can't see it, so it doesn't work.
What does it take to be a good studio drummer? Is it just about really staying in the pocket and keeping the time precisely? I mean, what's the
very
skill?
Much that.
That's
very much
okay.
that. It's the feel. It's getting the sound, getting the right sonics. Right. Providing the engineer with the right sonics, not depending on him to dig it out. Hopefully, you know how to hit them and when to hit them hard, when not to hit them hard, and what parts you play. Certain things are great for records. Certain things are better for live. Certain decisions you would make about what to play. Huh. Yeah. So there's a difference. There's a difference between the live drummer and the.
I think a
not
lot
for
of
bebop, not for jazz.
Yeah, I just think a lot of musicians, especially younger kids coming up, think, well, I can play on a stage, I can go into the studio and sound great, and I've noticed over the years that it really is two different set of skills, and some people have both, but others are one or the other, and it's.
Yeah, well, that was the image that's absolutely true, but it was more true years ago. Now kids are growing up with playing with drum machines, right? So they're metronomically they're a little more
on time or
point,
whatever.
yeah. And so that's a big help. It used to be like a free for all, but now with the with drum machines and metronomes and people learning the right way, it's better. It
really is.
The young kids sound great. I think.
Absolutely. Allan, always a pleasure. We've done a couple of Kiss-related interviews. We should definitely do another interview down the road where we
Anytime,
get
everything. Mitch, you always ask great questions, man. You always ask the right questions.
Great, thank you. Is there anywhere where fans can find you? Are you on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or is there a website?
I'm bad. I'm really bad at that, Mitch. Everybody's been yelling at me to get the Facebook. I have a Facebook page.
Right.
Hardly put anything on it. My wife puts my grandkids on it, and stuff like that.
What you need to do is get a page. Sorry to cut you off, but you need a page on Facebook where you have those in-studio pictures of all these, or maybe just tell, in a paragraph or two, a story every couple of weeks of, this is my day with Peter, and this was my day with Gene, and this was my day with doing that Mitch Mitchell stuff, and this was. Because I think people would just be fascinated. I really think people would just be fascinated.
I think I will. Thanks, and thanks for thinking of me and calling.
Absolutely, always a pleasure. And thank you. And of course, folks, check out Carmine Appice and Rated X out on Frontier.
Okay, feel good, Mitch. Let me know what's going on with you. Okay?
Absolutely, will do.
Take care, man.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.